Oh, Brian Botari has been patiently waiting his turn as we added him to the group.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. No waiting. It was a great conversation. I appreciate being included. I will start. I'll be brief, but I think starting on the kind of resiliency question that came up, I'd say just to level set, for those who don't know, we serve essentially incorporated Ukiah, Willits, and Fort Bragg in the county, so not a huge portion. So what I'm talking about with our services would only apply to those three areas. But during a PSPS, so our response last year was to basically, our network is the way it's powered. It's extremely reliant on commercial power. It's very decentralized in terms of using electricity to kind of push our signal along. So we deployed generators, small generators, to our nodes that serve public safety facilities. So police, fire, county OES, city OESs, hospitals, and then cell backhaul. This fire season, we will be doing more of the same. The generators are much bigger this year. They're kind of trailer based, so there might be some community questions about that, and we're working out how to kind of message to the folks who are going to have a big trailer parked in front of their house during a PSPS, why that is, etc. There will also be some expansion of that. The CPUC had a resiliency order that came down a few months ago, requires us this fire season to keep those facilities up, as well as some form of cell shadow areas as defined by the commission. And I haven't seen that map yet, so I can't comment exactly on where those extra locations are. But as part of that order, by next fire season, we are required to have the generation on our network in all tier 2 and tier 3 fire areas. So right now we're trying to figure out the best kind of logistical solution to that, whether it is in the short term, even more mobile generation backed up by a more permanent solution down the road that's going to require, construction, permitting, et cetera, et cetera. So making good progress on that. And Brent, we will be meeting to talk about that for sure. I'm looking forward to it. So I'll pause there for any resiliency questions, and then I have one more little thing.
I have a question. I know that you brought in the mobile vans for satellite hookup. Is that still on the plans for any emergencies this year?
I don't think we did that. Comcast. We don't own.
Oh, sorry. It probably wasn't you guys. Do you have plans?
Well, we don't own any wireless infrastructure. So we don't.
That wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just referring to our wireline network.
Okay.
But there is the 72-hour backup, and I think a separate proceeding. It was alluded to. The wireless providers are required to have 72 hours of backup also. So hopefully they'll have more permanent solutions, so they won't have to bring in the mobile generation. But I don't know the status of that writ large.
This is Tom West. I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
Who do you use for your backhaul to the Bay Area?
Our backhaul?
Yeah.
We have our own network.
You have fiber between the Bay Area and Ukiah and Fort Bragg?
Yes.
And what was the third location? Ukiah, Fort Bragg? And what was the other one?
Willits.
Willits. And what is your redundant route?
What is our redundant route? I don't have our network map in front of me, but I could get.
Well, if I'm in Willits and your backhaul between Willits and the Bay Area goes down, how do I get my signal out?
I'll have to look at our map and get back to you, Tom.
Okay. And the same thing would be true in Fort Bragg, and in other words, do they all converge in Ukiah and they take one line down? I assume that's the case.
I'll have to let you know. I'll consult with our network team.
Thank you very much, Brian.
Sure. And then just one little thing on EBB came up early on in the call, Emergency Broadband Benefit Program. We are participating in that. Our current Internet Essentials customers, which is our current low-income connectivity program, they can use the EBB for their Internet Essentials payment, or they can upgrade their service and use EBB for that, and then move right back into Internet Essentials once the EBB is over, and vice versa. So just for information there. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Brian. I did receive a Comcast call just yesterday, and were I able to sign up as a second option here at my house, I would, but regrettably, I can't. And incidentally, Keith Grunberg and I had an interesting conversation about Comcast and some of the capabilities on the horizon recently, and it's intriguing. So thanks for that.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Sure. Where are we? My apologies. I believe that we have gone through the community partners in total. What I don't know is whether or not the executive office is still on the line and whether they want to report. I also see that Megan Barbara Allende might be on the line, and she might at this opportunity want to say a few words just to wrap up community partners and everything preceding on the agenda. Otherwise, we could review some of the pending legislation, which has in large been covered during the course of our conversations. I'm going to try to bring up the different PowerPoint momentarily, so bear with me. If anyone has just general comments they would like to add at this point, feel free to take the floor. Pardon the delay. Here we are. That's the PowerPoint I'm looking for. So we have discussed at least 3 of these 4 bills at the state level. AB 14, AB 34 has not yet been discussed. AB 41, Assemblymember Wood's bill on Dig Once, and SB 4. And as we have discussed in previous meetings, AB 14 and SB 4 are essential for continuing the CASIF funds. And I believe that the both are in Senator Mike McGuire is a co-author for both AB 14 and SB 4, and I believe that AB 14 is also being co-authored by Assemblymember Jim Wood. I believe that the authors are working together to resolve the details around those bills, and I think some of the speed test of what define the speed at what defines unserved households is yet to be resolved between the bills. There may be additional issues, and I will open it to the floor to discuss. I think those are, in addition to AB 41, AB 14 and SB 4 are the most important bills to discuss at the state level. And so I'll open it up to discussion. If Tom or anyone wants to
Quick question.
add to the detail.
Quick question, Brett,
ahead.
Mendocino County OES. This is something I just heard on the radio this morning that California or federal government opened up $1 billion for broadband for specific to tribal. Should that, I don't know where that falls, but should that be tracked in here somewhere?
Yeah, federal legislation is on the next slide. And no worries.
Well,
I had not heard that one, and today I heard that. And I thought, wow, that's great.
I think it's fair to say that Keith Brunberg with Hunter Communications is tracking that as it relates to the projects in Mendocino County. And Hunter, as he pointed out earlier, they did get a CASF grant for the Hoopa tribe north, and they've had an extensive amount of work with tribal communities. So we have in all the projects in Mendocino, I believe there are 10 federally recognized tribes in Mendocino County. And I believe that 8 of those are in Project 1. The most significant is Round Valley Covelo, which is part of the Hunter Communications, but it is also one that Frontier has won RDOF funds for, and they've applied for kicker money. And I, for one, believe that they don't have enough money to do their job. And the tribe is not happy with Frontier, but that's about the extent of it. So yes, the tribal area is a very important area, and I think that Grunberg and Hunter are covering that for us as much as possible with Jeff's assistance.
Thank you, Tom. Any other questions or comments with regard to state legislation? Hearing none, we'll move on to the federal legislation, and we briefly discussed many of the funding opportunities at the outset of this meeting, but here again are some of the details. So the Data Act has already been passed, but money has nearly $100 million has been allocated to implement the Data Act, and it will improve mapping accuracy. And I understand that our speed test will be deemed usable data. Though we own it, it can be integrated into the larger scheme. We have talked about the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program, which has been awarded $3.2 billion through the Emergency Broadband Connectivity Fund for a $50 subsidy for eligible households on a low-income basis, and as much as $75 on tribal lands. And additionally, there are some details about the ability to utilize $100 toward the purchase of equipment, though there are stipulations about how much the total cost of the equipment can be. So it's limiting. And then some other details. It seems as though there are, I don't know, hundreds of billions of dollars between all of these various programs, and we just need to work on how to best utilize it within Mendocino County. I mean, there will be partners that will be doing work that we're unaware of, but I think it will all work to the advantage of Mendocino County in the long run.